All right, we're back again with another episode of Roofer Reflections, and we're here with Kyrah here. And I want to thank you for coming on the show.
Of course. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, so your background is in finance.
Yes.
Has it always been, have you always enjoyed numbers?
Yeah, actually, even from a very young age, I liked numbers. I think even more than numbers, I like process and I like putting things together and problem solving. And I found that finance was a really good opportunity to do that every day.
Tell me some stories from early years that demonstrated that.
Sure. So my first unpaid job was my dad was an entrepreneur and had his own business. And so I, at the age of, I want to say 12 or 13, actually took his handwritten invoicing process and put it into Peachtree. He had just bought a computer from Radio Shack. I thought that was the coolest thing in the world and started playing on it. And they had something that was, I'm not sure if it was actually Peachtree or something similar, like the early version of it, but I moved it all onto this computer system for him. And I just had the most fun. And then my first paid job was in high school. I actually worked for an attorney's office because that was what I wanted to do in life, I thought. And so I worked at a law office and I started out just helping with invoicing. And I found kind of a passion with that, like I said, because you get to really solve problems. You get to figure out equations and figure out where things can be improved.
How do the finance and operations side interact, in your opinion?
They've always interacted, right? Even in my early career, they've always served kind of a hand-in-hand piece of the business. But I think what I've seen over the last decade is more of an integration between the two. Finance now incorporates for most businesses IT and human resources and software. And so it's just kind of that almost a natural progression, but it's happened more so over the last, 5 to 10 years where it's just become such a meshed, part of the business where they talk to each other a lot more.
Describe for me some of your transitions and learnings.
I actually worked for a payphone company and I started out in payroll and I enjoyed it. I probably did it for a few months and then I quickly kind of moved through the finance team and eventually was the Southwest Regional Director of Finance. And my job was actually really fun.
What have you learned and what have you approached that?
Change can keep changing, right? So you may change and realize a couple of months down the road that change either worked for that time or wasn't still working. And so being open and malleable to constantly embrace change for the purpose of improvement, I think is the way that I like to approach it and try to bring everyone else into kind of that way of thinking of being comfortable with change, because it's really more about growth than it is about the actual process of changing. It's how do we keep moving the needle and moving forward.
And when I look at your posts, you seem to have a very big interest in the topics of growth and leadership. And it sounds like you've put a lot of work into that. What are some of the things you've done?
I'm a firm believer that our mission in life, if you will, is to figure out what our purpose is. And, I love coming to work every day.
When someone that isn't familiar with the roofing industry or is looking to get into the roofing industry ask you about the industry, what do you tell them?
It's a land of opportunity. It's also, for us in the roofing industry, I think it's an untapped resource out there. There are so many people that I think just don't know that roofing has such a large base, whatever you want to do, whether it's marketing or social media or roofing or customer service or finance, whatever it is, there's a place for you in roofing.